So Chauncey, we're really excited to be chatting with you today about Surface Copilot PCs with the new Qualcomm Snapdragon X Plus and X Elite processors, and how the devices themselves are central to lighting up the Copilot experience for the end user. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the NPU is and why it's so important?
Yes, I'm more than happy to do that. I talk about the NPU all the time. So the NPU is really the latest processor, the latest technology that's helping us usher this new revolution or evolution of technology as we move forward. You know, I think the way that we interact with technology is just overall evolving. And in order to do that, computers have to catch up. So if you think about like all of our processors, like the CPU, which is that historically that major brain, that primary brain of the computer, or the GPU, which is really great for graphical capabilities, maybe big data that includes like AI as well. Well, we needed something that was going to be hyper efficient to be able to run AI models. And that's where the NPU steps in. And that the NPU is the neural processing unit. We actually call it the neural processing unit because it kind of functions very similar to the way the human brain functions. It actually makes relationships across your various AI models, and it kind of brings all of that AI data to bear very quickly and with extreme efficiency. So efficient, actually, that we free up the rest of the processor to do what it needs to do best. So if I'm running an AI workload, it can run entirely on the NPU, which frees up my CPU and GPU to really, I think, do what it like run Teams or Outlook or you know, the 50-40 tabs that I have open usually in Edge. So that gives me a lot of, I think, balanced workload to be able to run my AI workloads across the computer.
And what effect do you think this will have on AI and future-proofing? Do you think that most applications will require an NPU for API workloads?
When it comes to the NPU and requirements, the NPU is probably going to follow a very similar track as the GPU, right? GPUs has historically not really been required so much as an enhancement to the experience. You can run a lot of stuff on CPU. You can run a lot of video games on CPU for that matter, but maybe you want to run a better video game, or you want to run a more efficient experience with that video game, or maybe the video game requires a certain level of GPU to be able to get there. That's kind of where that GPU came in. NPU is going to be very same thing, which is there's going to be certain workloads that either run better, run more efficiently with the NPU, or maybe it might require a certain level of NPU in order to be enabled. And I think some of those examples that you're starting to see come to life are like our Windows Studio effects. We definitely require the NPU to be able to run that because we want to be able to run it all the time in the background. And if in order for it to be able to run all the time in the background, it needs to be extremely efficient because again, I want to be able to do the rest of the stuff for my computer. So yeah, I think it will definitely kind of help shape that path of the modern computer, of the kind of the future computer. But it's just kind of depend on the modern workload of AI as it comes out.
So we've seen some of the AI experiences this week from Microsoft and the third-party vendors like Live Captions, Recall, and even Separable. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so some of our first-party experiences that you saw, so the Microsoft experiences like Live Captions and Windows Studio effects or Recall or even some of these other things that are coming out, super exciting, right? I mean, like it's that kind of groundbreaking AI movement that Microsoft's bringing to bear on our devices. I love to talk about Live Captions all the time because Live Captions is kind of one of those that until you get to use it, you don't really understand like the sheer future forward capability it's bringing. You know, built into the device, I now have the ability to immediately translate the audio signal into text. It's bringing so much accessibility and inclusivity to the device. But on our Copilot PCs, we took it a step further. Not only is it bringing that signal in and turning it into text, we can now translate different languages on the fly into English. And that's just the beginning. I mean, obviously we want to go into the other way and be able to translate from English into other languages. But right now I can have a conversation with a peer of mine in Japan. I like to talk about, I have an aunt in Japan actually, and this really helps lower that barrier of being able to communicate with individuals. And so I think we're really helping people achieve more by just kind of imbuing these new things like Live Captions to help kind of drive that conversation. Yeah. The other piece that I would say, you mentioned Separable. Separable is amongst our handful of many ISVs that are bringing new AI experiences to these devices. Separable does another amazing job of making our devices more accessible and more inclusive. And for those of you that aren't aware, what Separable does is it helps kind of analyze your gestures and the way that you're moving, and enables you to actually enact and work with your PC. So if I'm watching a video, I can like open my mouth, or I can move my head back and forth, and that actually takes action on the video that you're playing. And so now all of a sudden, people that maybe have issues with being able to move their hands, or maybe don't have the ability to work with a keyboard, they can use what they have. They can use their physical capability to continue to move forward.
That's
and
amazing.
all of that is built into the NPU, so it can run hyper efficiently, allowing the video to run simultaneously.
And some of those features we can even do offline.
Yeah.
Correct? We can do that locally on the machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I think one of the other benefits I forgot to mention earlier about the NPU is the NPU enables AI workloads to be run locally, right? You don't have to have that internet connection. I do think there's going to be probably this notion of hybrid, where it'll go both in the cloud and locally on the device. But that NPU does empower that capability to be run entirely locally for certain AI workloads, and it's just bringing some really cool stuff to the device.
And what about Microsoft? Is Microsoft doing anything to drive more development for AI on the NPU itself?
Absolutely. We're definitely a software company. It is what Microsoft is known for. It's how we got our start. And of course, Microsoft Surface is that kind of amplification of those experiences. So part of the things that we announced even back at Build 2024 was this notion of Windows Copilot runtime. And it's this collection of APIs and toolkits and various models that Microsoft has trained. It's now building into Windows directly. So as a developer, if I wanted to take advantage of Silica, if I wanted to take advantage of even Windows Studio Effects, I can very easily tap into those built in directly into Windows. So I even have to train the model. I don't have to keep it up to date. All I got to do is just tell my application, I want to use that model, and it uses it. And if you have your own model, if you're one of those really cool companies that has the ability to go train your own model, or maybe you've worked with Microsoft to do that, we also have like direct ML, and we work with our Onyx runtime to be able to connect your own models into your applications. Microsoft is out there driving development across our ecosystem. We're working with our silicon providers, we're working with other hardware out there, because we believe in this future for AI, and definitely you'll see more to come.
Awesome. Thank you again for talking to us today about the Surface Copilot Plus PCs with the new Qualcomm Snapdragon X Plus and X Elite processors. These are some really cool advances with Windows, AI, and Surface devices.
Yeah.